Hello everyone, welcome to this Android development tutorial. In this tutorial we will learn how Android development works and some Android Studio basic tips and how it is structured basically. So let's start creating a new Android Studio project. We click on the first option, then we select empty activity and press next. Now as a name we will leave it as it is, application. We also have a package name. This is an identifier to your app. You can have here the name of your company, your name, the developer, or whatever the case may be. The language we will select Java, and the minimum API level we will select 14. We will click on finish and we will wait for the IDE to load and to set up the project. So Android development is a very large thing to learn. It can take some time. In this course we will learn a lot of very interesting topics. So what is Android development? Well, basically Android is an operating system which runs mobile apps. So to build an app, you often go and use an IDE. This IDE is called Android Studio, which is the official Android development IDE. To create Android applications, you should know the Java programming language. That is the main requisite. Apart from that, you don't need additional knowledge. So if you can see, I have a file opened which is called mainActivity.java. This is the text or the code editor in this part. We also have another file called activitymain.xml. Both of these files specify some different parts of our application. The first one, which is the XML file, is used to specify the user interface, as you can see right here. And the second one is actually the activity, which is kind of saying a screen of the application. Okay, what you will be showing and how you control what happens on the application is done through this file. On the left side we have the manifests folder, and inside that we have the Android manifest.xml. This file must exist on every Android application because it contains important information about the app. It contains the app name, the app package. It also contains the app application icon and other configurations like the theme, the name of the activity, how many activities it needs. If it requires a special permission like location, you will have to specify it here. Okay, so this is kind of the entry point that describes the app and tells the system what your app is doing and its structure and so on. Okay, now we can see that Android Studio has lots of different options, lots of different menus, lots of different stuff. You don't really need to know every single option because you won't really need every option, but the basic options are the ones under the build and run menus. So here, if you have ready an Android device or emulator, you can just click run app and the app will run. You can also go debug, profile, and etc. Here on the build menu, you can make project, make module app, you can rebuild project, clean project, which is basically delete stuff that has been built, and you can do lots of other tools. You can use lots of other tools that are available right here. We can analyze, inspect code, but that's kind of a more advanced stuff. Now, to make you more familiar with the IDE, you will go to the first option, the first menu, who says File, and then on Settings. When you click on Settings, this window will appear. If you go and click to the first kind of menu, we have Appearance and Behavior. And if we go to Appearance, here we can change the theme of the Android Studio IDE. So the default is IntelliJ. You can change it to Darkula, which is a dark theme, or JTK Plus, or whatever in your case may be. It can vary depending on your computer, but there will always be kind of Darkula and IntelliJ. Apart from that, you can change the size of the font. If we go to Editor and Font, we can change your font and you can change the size. Okay, so it depends on what you want to do. You can also change the code style of your language. For example, the change I have made here is the tab size and indent size. Why? Because I like tab size of 2 spaces and indent of 2 spaces, but you can have 4. I think 4 is the default one, but I like 2 better because it's kind of more compact. So that's basically how to modify this. You don't really need to touch anything else right now, right here. So the main thing is to find a kind of a comfortable to look font, mainly font size. And when you find that okay, then you can just leave it as it is. So right here we have, as I told you, 3 files. So the structure of the application starts with this line right here, which defines the main activity. As I told you, an activity is a screen, and this screen is called main activity. The system will search for a main activity.java file, which represents the activity. If you know Java, you know that this is the public class called main activity, which extends app-compat activity. This is kind of the super class which is being extended by your main activity class. We can also see that the method we have here, we have an override protected void onCreate method. This method is called when the app is created. In other words, this method is called when the user taps the icon of the app. Okay, so if you tap an icon on your Android device to launch your app, then this method will be called. And what this is saying, first it calls the super method, which means it calls the super class, kind of tells the system we are being created, and which is not really important for now. What is important is the next line, which says set content view r.layout.activity main. So this is saying to set content view to this layout file, which means basically show this layout file on the screen. Now, this layout file is the XML file, as you can see, activity main XML. Here you can change these and you have an interface of drag and drop widgets. You can use buttons, image views, whatever you may want, but you also have a text mode. If you click right here, you can switch into text mode, and you can also have the option to preview what you're doing. If you don't want this preview to be shown, you can just disable this as I click on preview, or enable it again. So if you've disabled it, you can see this is an XML file that specifies the layout hierarchy of your application. So here the root element, if you want to call that way, it's called constraint layout, which is kind of a high-level way of building layout and that kind of stuff. Now, for learning purposes, we will not use this constraint layout. We will use linear layout because it's simpler, easier to learn, and makes everything just easier for now. So we will delete these by going to the left side of the screen under Res Layout and right click on activity main.xml and click on delete. Now if you have checked these options, you can just uncheck both of them and press OK. So you have deleted it, and now you can see that here this word is in red because we have deleted the file and the IDE is not finding it. So we will create a new one. To do that, we go to the layout folder we used previously, we right click on it and go to new layout resource file and we click on it. Now here we will create our new file name. We can call it layout or my layout. You can call it whatever you want. So I will call it layout. But in the next field, we will delete this and we will write linear layout, as you can see. When you have done it, you press an OK and you have a new file. Now, this file has a different name from the previous file. So we have to go to mainActivity.java and change this activity main name with layout. Now we have the correct file. And here, as you can see, we have a simpler view. If we open the preview, we can see that we have an empty layout. If you want to have more space on the screen, you can get rid of this bar right here by clicking on this button of minimizing this bar. So now we have more space. Right here we can start building things. Okay, we will go and start by typing and opening, how do we call this? Greater than, less than, you know what I mean, right? So we're gonna go and type button, capital B, and we will press enter. And the IDE automatically generated two fields for us to fill. So here we have layout width and layout height. In layout width, we will put a size, for example, 100. So layout width, you will put 100 dp, which means device independent pixels, which is just a way of measuring distances in Android. And layout height, we will put the same to create a square button. As you can see, we have now created button right here in the preview. Now, if we want to add text to that button, we will create a line that says and type text, and then we press enter. And here we can write what we want the button to say. For example, press me. Okay, and you can see that here the button has the press me state. So that's very easy way of creating a button. Now, if we want to create a text view, something that just displays text without being a button, we open another element and say text view with maybe 100 dp and height again 100 dp. Now you can see that this is kind of an empty thing, and to have text here we will do the same. Text, I will say am a text view. You know, so first thing to note here is that this is automatically placed just below the previous element. Why this happens? Because we have set the orientation, actually was set by the IDE, but the orientation of the linear layout is set to vertical. This means that this object will go first and then this one and so on. Okay, so we have two objects right here. If we want to make this more spaced and more formatted code, we will press Ctrl Alt and L. You see? Ctrl Alt and L, and you have kind of these spaces between objects and so on. Okay, so now we have these, but now you can see that AmaText view is kind of a gray color, and if we want to make that let's say black, we will just type text color, and here we don't have predefined color, so to define a color in hexadecimal way, in a hexadecimal form, we will press the numeral sign, and for example we will type 6 zeros, 1 2 3 4 5 6. Well, this is the RGB definition in hex. This means the first two numbers specify the red component, the second one the green component, and the third one the blue component. This means that if we go and say, for example, 99, then the text goes a bit red. So since this is hexadecimal, this goes from 0 to F. So if it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then it goes A, B, C, D, E, F. So the largest letter we have is F. If we press two Fs, we have a very, very red color, as you can see. Now, we will leave it as black. And we want a larger text size. For that, we type text size. And here we will do something like 25 SP. SP is a unit of measure stuff in text. In Android, it's better to use SP than DP because it works better across different kind of densities, and this is just for text. So remember, text size is SP and object size we will use DP. So as you can see, now we have a larger text right here. Now if I want to make this a little bit more to have it more width, we can increase from 100 to 200 dp right here, and we have one line completely showing our message. Now we want to put the text on the center of our text view. To do that, we will go to a new line and write gravity and center. Okay, now the text is on the center of the view. So this is basically how we create these very, very basic buttons and very, very basic text views and so on. So this thing will be shown on your device when you run the application. Okay, why? Well, because our Java file is telling the system to set content view r.layout, which is this file right here. So this was for this video. I hope you enjoy it. In the next video, we will learn how to set up an Android virtual device to actually run this app. I see you later. Bye.